Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Early Years Learning Lab. Coach Shane here as always, and always we're presented by Mini Monstars. We're here with Sinead. How you going?
Yes, good. Good. Thank you, Shane.
Now, I'm excited to kind of talk about like all you're doing with the food is cool and that sort of stuff, because in my past life, you could say I was a PT, so I really was interested in nutrition and all that sort of thing. So like really interested to see what you're kind of doing and how we can kind of bring that back to the centers, to the educators, directors, and where they can kind of implement a few of the things that you're kind of doing. So the first thing, what is Food is Cool and kind of what do you do? And yeah.
Perfect. So Food is Cool is a nutrition education program for schools and early childhood centres. It's designed for children aged 3 to 6, and it's co-designed by myself as a teacher, as an educator, ECT, and with Dr. Flavia. So she's a nutritional scientist. And she's the co-founder. She's the co-founder of Food is Cool, and she's the CEO of Food IQ Global. So she's actively working in nutrition science research. So it's not just me as a teacher and educator saying, I think we should tell kids to eat more veggies.
Yeah, for sure.
No, this is the latest science and research, and it's backed by that.
Awesome.
Then also with educator expertise, it's age appropriate. We've got all the curriculum links. We link to STEM, where it's done in an inquiry-based model, so it's easy for educators to follow. So it's designed in a way that your least experienced educator can download the program and teach it step by step. You start here, ask the children this, share this resource with the children, and then your most experienced educator can read it and go, okay, great, I've got the information. We're going to go off and do it, do something completely different with the content. But either way, the same information is being taught, and it's accurate and it's evidence-based. They don't have to Google and find the information.
And it's good to have things like that in one place too, because you can go online, you can go on this and you can type, you could be looking for something and you can find it. But there could be 15 different things saying that's the right thing on the one topic, and you kind of get overwhelmed. And so it's good to have that, I guess, in the one topic. So I guess getting into it, like what are we seeing? And I guess what are you kind of like through the research and what you've seen? What would be a good start? I guess, is it more about like how are you like getting to educators? What are you kind of teaching them to kind of say, all right, the kids should be eating this? Or is it more like, here's a rough rundown of what the kids can have? Like, how does it all work?
Yep. So when you get the program and then you get to a members area, first thing in the program is a staff professional development.
Okay.
So the staff watch the professional development with Flavia and myself. It's pre-recorded, it's sitting there ready to go. And that teaches you how to teach the program and invites you to reflect. So you'll be invited to reflect on your personal food beliefs, your personal relationship with food, because that impacts how you're going to teach nutrition to children.
Sure. And a lot of people have negative food relationships, and, you know, if they eat something a little bit snacky, they think they've done something wrong. But you know what I mean? There's a lot of negative association with food, and especially like being a PT back in the day. I always try to, you know, if you do go off the diet, as they say, it's not a bad thing. Sorry, go on.
And it's good engaging in the conversation. It's it's all there. You watch the PD, you'll be invited to reflect. We'll tell you how you can directly link the program to your quality improvement plan, to curriculum. You know, we want to make it really easy for staff and centres for when they get the program, you know, no pun intended, but they've got enough on their plate.
Yeah.
No, they don't want another thing to have to teach. We're like, silver platter, here it is, everything you need to be confident in teaching nutrition education.
Yeah.
So watch the PD, have a reflection, that goes for about an hour long. And then there's all the resources and we don't call them lesson plans, they're learning opportunities.
Yep.
So it's just a foundation, take it in any direction you choose. But it's all the information that you need. So it's more on back to your question about, do we tell you what to eat? It's more on the how rather than the what. Okay. So we're not going to say, don't have donuts in your centre. We're going to say, to create a positive relationship with food, we're going to remove all food labels, no good food, no bad food. Food has no moral rights. It's not good or bad. Food is food.
Yeah.
It just has a role in our society, in our culture, and in our lives.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we love cake. We have cake to celebrate our birthdays. It's the highlight of a birthday is you get cake. And we don't want children to feel bad or naughty for having a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have we heard generations before us go, oh, I'm going to be naughty and have a piece of cake?
That's, I was just a little, as you said that, I was just thinking every time, you'd be like, oh, you're having a naughty food, or you're having, oh, that's a good food, or that's, that's a bad food, that's a good food. It's just ingrained in how we kind of grow up.
It is. And then that's proved by, this whole generation with the amount of eating disorders and the negative association with food, the negative relationship with food. And it is apparent in the early years now. One of the questions in our early foodie program is to simply ask the children, what is food?
Yeah.
And a lot of the responses are, this is quoted from 4 and 5 year olds, don't eat too much because you'll get a sore tummy. Healthy and unhealthy. It's all very restrictive, their language around food. And then we ask the adults, and they say it's connection, it's culture, it's nutrition, it's medicine. So the whole part of the program is on how do we support children to have a positive relationship with food, because nutrition education happens the second a child walks into your service. So it's not just something we teach for 10 minutes at mat time.
No.
Yeah, it's in your room displays, it's in your family corner, it's in the language that they hear us using around food and meal times. What's the transition into meal times? Do the children come running in from outside where they're all very stimulated from running around and wash their hands and sit at the table, and then they're told you've got to eat everything on your plate, or you get what you get and you don't get upset?
I don't deal with food. I deal with what color balls they get, and that's like what kind of footies I do. I've used that a couple of times in my time. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I think we're all guilty of having the odd moment where we're like, just get the blue ball. So it's all about supporting. It's a really holistic. It's not just a program that you're going to, like I say, teach for 10 minutes at mat time. It has to be embedded, and it has to be. Start with the educators. For sure, I get, and that's there's a few things I want to kind of touch on. Maybe first, can we touch? But I can head back to the kind of that sort of stuff. But can we touch on maybe when you were educating? Did you see this as a need? Is that why you started? Like just kind of how food is cool kind of like came about, and what you noticed in the centers, and it will touch back on the food sort of side of things. So I was, teaching as an ECT, early childhood teacher, in a kindy room. And I was like, how do I teach nutrition to children? I know it's really important. I value it for myself. And I want to get this right to teach the kids. And I just couldn't find, I couldn't find accurate information. I was like, do I use the food pyramid? Do I use the healthy eating? Like, what do I use? Yeah. So I was doing some work with the Mushroom Growers Association of Australia, and they connected me with Flavia, so Dr. Flavia, and I got in touch with her, and I was like, how, got any advice? And she was like, well, it's really important we get it right in the foundation years. And so then Food is Cool was born. We both were like, we have to do something to get this information out there. And being a teacher, I wasn't trained in nutrition. I had no idea. I mean, I knew what I thought was right and had done my own research for my personal life, but didn't know how to teach it. And I knew, there was something not sitting right with the food shaming of organizing the food into healthy and unhealthy, or comparing plates or lunchboxes. Like I knew that something was missing. Yeah. So Flavia, with her nutrition expertise, kind of guided me to be able to be confident in teaching it. And then we were like, we need to create a program. It's so important. And there is a need. We were just at the ECA conference in Adelaide, and over 2,000 delegates, and every single person we talked to had some sort of challenge around food. Yeah. Whether it was picky eating or food waste, or
I was just about to say, I've got a 14-month-old. Shout out Archman. He's like kind of getting off bottles, and we're trying to transition from bottles to like he's eating food, but he very rarely will eat lunch and that sort of stuff. So that's what I was gonna get selfish on and say like, well, what do you see? Because obviously you probably teach, I guess, nursery age and toddler age and kinder age. It'd all be a little bit different of what you're teaching. Is that right?
Yep, but it goes throughout, so you can use it. So we chose the age group 3 to 6 because then it can be taken down in age groups and up.
Yeah.
And we talk about it in a way that it can be used throughout the whole centre. So look, right down at that age group, little tips that are valuable, like that bitter is a learnt taste. So you have to learn to enjoy bitter foods. It's not something you naturally enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
So you have to like taste train, teach
Yeah,
children
yeah.
like you would with toilet learning. You have to train yourself to like bitter foods.
Yeah.
Um,
Geez, what would that be? Just for a few. What if a few foods that are quite bitter?
Kale,
Oh yeah.
mashed up, broccoli, spinach.
Yep.
These are all quite bitter foods. And if you're introducing them at a young age, then you're building that
For sure.
taste and tolerance to enjoying it. Also, a child has to be exposed to a new food up to 20 times before they'll eat it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, same as marketing. So
Yeah.
marketing, you have to be exposed. So you just keep reintroducing it, and you feel like this is one of the tips Flavia gave me because my son wouldn't eat green peas, and I was like, "Come on, just try the pea." And she's like, "Just take the pressure off him and you,
Yeah.
and just put one green pea on his plate for 20 days straight." And it worked. He touched it, and then he squashed it one day, and then he ate it. So it's just that exposure.
A few times.
Yeah. You feel like you're doing it a million times, but then eventually they're like, okay, I've seen this enough now. I'll give it a go. So that also another thing that we get educators to reflect on is if you went out to space and ended up on Mars, you got a dish of green goop in front of you, you probably wouldn't just start eating it straight away. You'd probably smell it, you'd probably feel it, you might rub it around, and then you might taste it. You might watch and see what other people are doing with it. And it's the same with children. They're experiencing this for the first time.
Use this other sense, though they're using all their senses, and yeah, cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yep. And it links as well because Flavia often talks about, space green goop. And she's just been at Space University over in Brazil. So learning all about space, but also how, she's integrating into hopefully into the program about space food and how space will be feeding our future.
Oh, really? Interesting. They're going to start. Yeah, well, I won't get too. That could be a rabbit hole for another. No, that's great. So then, I guess bringing it back to once centers are in there, like they're obviously in there with the kids and that sort of stuff. So is it the center, the educators it's like educate themselves, go through the program, do that, and then how would they start rolling this out? Because obviously they got their cook and they got their all that sort of stuff. How would they then roll out what they've learned in a, I guess, maybe not step by step, but just in a way that would, help and are you passing this information on to the families? Like how's that all work?
Yep, huge. So the family and community involvement is huge. And we put a really strong emphasis on that because it does take a shared language to help shape a child's positive relationship with food. It's the longest relationship they're going to have in their life because since the womb is food.
Yeah.
So we have at the end of every learning opportunity, there's a parent takeaway. So that parent takeaway is already done. It's written. It's in language that's appropriate to share with families. It's there. And whether your centre uses Storypark or Educa or whatever you may use, or whether you just print out letters and put them on the door, it's there. So you can send it off to parents and it says, today we learned about this. Here's some phrases you can use with your child at home. This is how you can support your child's mealtime, if big emotions arise at mealtimes.
Yeah.
And it's all the same language. So they're getting the same language in the centre and we're sending it home. So hopefully they're getting the same language at home.
For sure.
because it's really important to keep that.
Yeah, and that's if I guess if they're, and it's obviously not going to happen everywhere, but that's the goal. But trying to get the same message at childcare and the same message at home is the ultimate goal. Is there anywhere, like, obviously the centers are going to pass on the information? Do you have stuff on your website and stuff where parents can go and kind of upskill themselves as well?
Yes, we do. We do. Yep, we've got a parent forum and an area. It's all free for parents to sign up, get advice and tips and tricks. And we've got a Facebook group where they've got direct access to Flavia and myself for any questions that they might have. But yeah, it's really important to keep that language the same right through. Yeah. And we've also got advice and support for educators, because one of the biggest challenges for educators is parents coming in and saying, my child needs to finish everything in their lunchbox, or why are they not eating this, or why do they eat this here but not at home? So we want to equip educators to have confidence and to be able to respond to those questions. And know that what they're saying is backed by science.
For sure. And what is some of the, I guess, like, when you've kind of ran these programs and that sort of stuff at centers, what have been some like takeaways you've noticed? What have some, what are like some of the biggest takeaways you've seen, or like progressions you've seen from a center being, not knowing much to where they kind of left, or whatever it is? What have you seen through that process?
I think one of the biggest things we noticed was that children really love to learn about and talk about poo. Which was not surprising, but just the whole process of food, right back, where does it come from? We talk about farm, the process of making bread, and to where it goes, once you've consumed food, what actually happens to it. Because a lot of children don't know, they just think they eat food and that's the end of it. So to actually teach them about their bodily functions and give them that autonomy over their body. Also, a big shift that we noticed in a lot of centres was simply changing their mealtime routine into a mealtime ritual. Making it a time for connection, rather than just something that we've got to do. We've got to start staff breaks, we have to start lunch times, then we have to get to rest time. Come on, just get the children fed at the table. And what a change that's created for a lot of for centres.
And that would be, rather than just like everyone just getting their food and just doing their own thing, is it just like kind of bringing everyone together, sitting together, talk? Is that kind of what you mean?
So there's lots of strategies. One, for example, a service might bring the children in from outside, sit together, have a bit of a connection time, and then go wash hands. The children, one of our resources is a template to create a placemat. So by simply getting the children to colour in a placemat, make it their own, laminate it, have it sitting there, they've got a sense of agency. They're actively involved in the ritual. They get their placemat, they find their one, they find where they want to sit, that we're filling up their power a little bit more. They choose where they want to sit, they choose their bowl. It's not just you're sitting here, no, you two aren't sitting next to each other. Which I know there has to be a bit of that, but the more children are involved in the process, the more they're willing.
Well, it's funny that you like, it's like anything, like empowering people to do and to have a say in kind of what they're doing. They'll buy into that more. We had a chat about that in one of the podcasts before, about managing a team, and rather than telling someone what to do, if you actively engage and you work out something together, they're going to buy in a bit more and maybe care a little bit more. And it's funny, kids are the same.
Yeah, exactly. And we want them to have that ownership over their meal times. And we want them to feel empowered. So we teach phrases like how to listen to their body, to know when they're full, to know when they're hungry, to listen to their tummies. And for the educators, it's really important for us to trust the child. If they say, I'm hungry or I'm full, we need to trust them, because that empowers them to, okay, I am heard and I can listen to my body.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than us saying one more mouthful. No, they're saying they're full.
Finish your plate, you can leave.
Yeah.
For sure. That's great. So, and then what other things are you seeing, like around, like when you go into centers that might be beneficial for the educators, or just even maybe before they even get into the program, like little things they can start doing that might help, just kind of, I guess it could be what's the word? Maybe like a hard process for some people to kind of implement something like this, because it is so, I feel like you need to know a bit about it. So what are some little things where like centers can start like implementing things and then kind of, reach out and all that?
Yep. I think just, the first step is, I know everybody does, or a lot of people do, but to value nutrition and understand the importance of it in the foundation years, to know that there is a creditable source where you can get the information. It doesn't have to be a big step. You can start by, this is probably the first step that I'd recommend centers do, is just removing food labels.
Yeah.
Healthy, unhealthy, good, bad. Just food is food. This is the food that we have at parties and we love it and we celebrate with it. And this is the food that we are having at lunchtime. We've got our pasta and we've got our cucumber, and what does that do to our body? How does it fuel our body? So I think just start by, the first thing's probably reflecting on your own.
I was just about to say, if you start training yourself, and I guess it's all about, this is another thing where if an educator wants to upskill themselves, this is another thing where they can just, if you are someone who says, oh, I'm going to be bad tonight, or I'm going to, if I guess getting out of that, it's just a habit of you saying that. So it'll take a little bit of time, but if you can focus that on yourself, and then I guess you can relay that onto the children.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's the big thing of, mealtime emotions, children having meltdowns, as we call them, at mealtimes.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I guess what, and is that just, do you know why that would occur? Like, any way we can, I know obviously, like, I guess kids like to do stuff, so sitting down for 10 minutes seems like they're sitting down for 8 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's so many reasons that a child could be experiencing that. It could be, they could be over hungry, they could not be hungry, it could have been a really rough transition in. And also something to note is that children can project their emotions. So, you get your child home from preschool, you sit them in front of the TV, then you take them to the meal table and you present them with this spag bowl, and they burst into this massive meltdown, and you're like, what is wrong? I've just given you spag bowl, nothing has happened. Yeah, like, I know you like it, just eat it. But what the parent needs to remember is that maybe at 10 a.m. at preschool, their child was in the sandpit and another child came over and snatched the shovel off them, and they've held on to that. Yeah. They get home, they get to the meal table where they're with their safe person, they feel safe to let those emotions out, and they're just like, whoa! And the mum's like, what's this got to do with spag bowl? But yes,
so a bit more understanding, and
which is so hard to do when you've just been at work all day and you're like, come on, dinner, bath, bed, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's another good, like, especially with educators, because it is such a taxing role, and so it's, I guess it's trying to have that ability to, just kind of, sometimes you can get wound up and kids aren't listening and that sort of stuff, just to be like, all right, it's meal time, let's all just chill out. Let's, as you said, if you can empower the kids to, make their own cutlery or whatever, the placemats, that sort of stuff. It's just I feel like mealtime, it could be a time, I'm not being an educator myself, but just kind of seeing, when I go into centers, it could be a stressful time, making sure everyone's fed, everyone's getting their food, things aren't flying around the table, all that sort of stuff. I guess trying to bring that calmness to that mealtime would definitely help. Do you see that?
Absolutely. Yep. And like I say, with the educators sitting down at the child's level, our energy is their energy. But then you've got the logistics of staff need to have their breaks. Yeah. It's usually over meal times, so there's a chop and change of staff. But yeah, just maintaining that calm. Yoga's a great thing to do. Yep. Let's come in and do 5 minutes or 10 minutes of yoga before we jump into washing our hands and coming to the meal table.
For sure. Especially if a kid's outside and they've just been playing and going crazy, just to immediately rush, like come there in and try to bring that energy down in 30 seconds is probably not going to, especially if you've just done like they've been running around, like playing on in the sand pit or, you know what I mean? Bringing that energy down. It could be something is maybe like that could be a recommendation, whereas, you know, maybe 10 minutes before everyone's eating, let's bring them in and let's do like a little bit of yoga, meditation, but like breathing, that sort of stuff. Make it fun, but obviously like trying to bring those kids' emotions and energetic levels down a bit.
Absolutely. Well, you probably know, being having done PT, is, you know, you don't go to the gym or go for a run, then immediately afterwards want to eat a shepherd's pie. So I just need a moment to
collect yourself for sure. Well, it's funny because we go mini monsters who we go into childcares and we do like sports programs, music, yoga, that sort of thing. So I could just imagine after one of our, like, especially our sports program or gymnastics programs, doing a going from that to trying to eat food would be an absolute, I just imagine. So if you've ever experienced that at one of the childcares, I apologize.
Probably have. They're probably all going, wow.
For sure. And then I guess, so what else are we seeing? Like, are you going through like amounts of food kids should be having, or is it not, is it more just a really more holistic view on
more holistic?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's more on how do we support these children to have a positive relationship with food? How do we empower them to listen to their hunger cues? How do we empower them to share their hunger cues with us? How do we empower the parents? We've got a script, like a word for word script that parents can use and you can use in the center. How to support those mealtime emotions, how to, So just how do we help these children and support these children to be confident in their food and nutrition? And how do we, as a service or an early childhood center, embody a positive approach to food?
It's so funny you say that, because that's literally why we started Mini Monsters, was for kids to have a positive relationship with exercise from when they first start doing it. Because obviously as we grow up and, you know, we know, like, I'm sure everyone remembers, you know, we'd be like gym class and we're, you know, year 8, year 9 or even earlier, and people sitting out on the side, not wanting to get involved, all that sort of stuff. So for us, it was, you know, how can we make the first time because obviously it's how important the role is. And this is kind of why I wanted to do the podcast, is where, like, the first time they're learning about all this, like, nutrition, that sort of stuff, will be when you come in or when we come in as educators running a program. So just the importance of kind of making that first initial time they experience it a positive one, I feel like it could set them up in the long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're so right. And the direct link between physical health, mental health, nutrition and mental health, it all just aligns. And it's really important that we get it right in these foundation years.
Oh, for sure. No, that's awesome. Did you have anything else you wanted to kind of touch base on? I guess maybe more in the director, obviously we're talking about educators and stuff, but how can directors empower their teachers and educators to kind of start? Obviously it's going to have to start from the top, or it might be, educators might be able to do it, but what would you recommend, or what would you say to directors on, you know, the program and how it could help and how they could help their center?
Yep. So as a center director, with the program, you purchase the program, you get the downloads, it's all there. You don't need to schedule a time for us to come in. It's all shelf ready. There's over 200 pages of content. It's everything you need. And it's in bite size. So it's not overwhelming. It's there. You watch the PD, you can send it off to your staff to watch it in their own time, or you can watch it together in a staff meeting. We've got direct links to embed it into your quality improvement plan, links to the early learning years framework, the Australian curriculum for primary school. We've just tried to make it really accessible and really straightforward. So like we say, you could have no experience in nutrition, like I had none, and have it in a way where you can be confident in what you're teaching. So as a centre director, it's not more work for your staff because it's all there. The parent communications are there. Like I said, the curriculum links, the critical reflection, the reflective practice,
Yeah.
prompts, everything. And it's so much more than just, you know, you hear nutrition education and you're like, oh yeah, you're going to tell us about the food pyramid.
The macros. What are the macros the kids need to hit? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And that's important too. But we're just going to start with the foundation of where does food come from? Where does it go? You know, how many children are struggling with things like constipation, and simply understanding what it is. It's just the food that you've eaten that can be, you know, a relief for them to understand what's happening to their body.
Sure.
And even where food comes from. You know, I taught in Singapore for a while, and some of the children would get their lunchbox, open up their lunchbox, look at their food, and we'd have conversations about where the food came from. No idea. So, and same here, same in Australia, same everywhere. If the children don't know what they don't know. So the process, and like I say, with the resources, it's all there. You share this with the children, the 4-step process on how to make bread. Share this with children, 4-step process on where milk comes from, where honey comes from.
That's great.
So it's just sharing that knowledge, links to sustainability, going on a bush tucker tour. You know, food is, we want children to, at the end of the program, when we ask them, what is food? We want them to be saying things like, it comes from all around the world. One of the resources is a food safari. We look at different foods around the world. One child said at the end of the program, what is food? One child said that some people eat beans for breakfast. So that was obviously something new to them that they'd learned.
Was like, for real, like, seriously.
Yeah.
There's more to this world than toast. You're kidding.
Exactly. Toast and wheat mix.
I'm stuck at the moment.
Yeah. So that's it's purpose driven, much like I'm sure Mini Monsters is, you know, that purpose, that drive of wanting to empower this next generation, because we know how important it is. Yeah,
for sure. And I guess a couple of things before, I think it's been a great chat, and before I let you go, a couple of things, I guess, where do you kind of, and what do you see with food is cool? Like, where do you want to kind of be in a few years? Like, what's your hope with what the program's doing? What the outcome is for centers and all that sort of stuff? And then we'll get on to the final question that I always ask everyone before the end of the pod.
Awesome. Our vision, or our goal, or our dream and aspiration is to offer science-based, evidence-backed nutrition information to reach as far and wide as we can, to make this, to empower children to have a sense of agency over knowing what they're eating, over listening to their bodies, to empower educators. It's all about empowerment, empowering educators with the tools, the knowledge, the language to use to be confident in teaching nutrition education to children, to empower everyone to have a positive relationship with food for life, because it starts now.
For sure. No, that's awesome. Thanks so much for that. That's great. And the last question, I guess we always ask, I once saw a podcast and I stole it from them. So pretty well it is, who do you think would be good for this podcast? But also there's a caveat to that one. What different topics do you think we should discuss on the podcast? But for the whoever you say, you have to help get them on the podcast. So you have to let them know that I'm going to reach out. So it just helps us, you know, because obviously starting a podcast takes a little bit of time, and you know, you got to grow and that sort of thing. So getting guests is always a little bit tough early on.
Of course, I love it. I love that question, and I love that networking and connecting people. And recommendation is the best. Who could I recommend? Oh, there's a million people that popped at the top of my head. I would recommend, you put me on the spot here.
Hear me out, that's okay.
Some topics that would be good to cover would be, after chatting to people at ECA conference, big challenges for people at the moment are emotions and behavior.
Okay. Yep.
So anything around behavioural support, how to support and guide children with big emotions. Someone who I know would be really valuable, who has just taught in a centre, so is fresh off the boat with knowledge, would be
You've lost it. That's all right. I'll send you a DM after. So that's awesome. But I did want to say, like after connecting and chatting, like I honestly think what you're doing is awesome. And if you ever need anything from me, or we could, because I feel like the food thing, the fitness thing, we could like do something cool together or whatever it is. Would be keen to kind of have a chat more and to see, and just anyway, if I can help out anyway as well. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Shane.
Have a good one.
See you. Bye.
So there we have it. Episode number 4 in the books. I thought it was a really awesome episode. We covered a lot about nutrition, food, a lot of takeaways for educators, directors, and especially families as well, of just the importance of, I guess, that developing that positive relationship with food. And I think the big one is the language, a part of like what we're using, the good, the bad food. And yeah, I thought it was a great chat with Sinead, and the food is cool. They're doing cool things. So if you like the podcast, give us a like, subscribe. Let us know what other topics we can cover, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.